Francine, I actually would like to start with a very basic question that I don't know the answer to. We have these IMF World Bank meetings. What are they? What comes out of them? What's the result?
Hi, David. This is basically a massive gathering of minds. What comes out of it? We may have a communique. We'll probably have several. Does it really focus on the things that matter? Probably not. We're not going to have a communique about currency wars. We're not going to have a communique on China. But this is a gathering of probably some of the most important people in the world. We have 200 participants, central bank governors, finance ministers, and there's also the G20 participants. So they go in little meetings, David, and we try and figure out by following them and by interviewing them really what they worry about the most, and also whether they have any answers to our many questions about China.
So do you have any sense at this point what they are worried about, what they're talking about? The Fed, China, commodities, what are they talking about?
Yeah, so they're talking about all of that, David. The Fed's certainly on everyone's mind because there's a belief that, of course, when the Fed starts hiking interest rates, it will, of course, hurt the emerging markets. Now, when you speak to some of the emerging market participants, and I spoke to the South African central bank governor, he says, yes, of course, if the Fed delays the interest rate hike, it means that he himself has a better handle on the economy because he has rampant inflation, which is due to the rand, the local currency, of course, sliding by a lot. At the same time that the economy is going pretty badly. So he has a policy conundrum. If the Fed delays, it makes his job easier, but he says there's this overhanging uncertainty, David, and this is what he wants to get away from. He says, you know, the Fed should just go ahead and do it so the emerging markets at least know how the market reacts. This is a very different view to the IMF. They say, look, there's absolutely no point in the Fed, let's say putting a gamble, A, because of domestic inflation not being there, but also the impact that it would have on a lot of these emerging markets that are very dependent on commodities, and you know that's not been doing very well.
John, you are responsible for a number of sovereign and international institutional relationships for Blackstone. Do you pay attention to this meeting?
No.
Why?
Because I don't have time. You know, I look for the summaries, I look for the key themes. I will look carefully at what the IMF director, Christine Lagarde, says in terms of trend spotting and people like Zoom In and people like that. But having said that, having gone to these meetings many times, they're really an important forum for people to put their thoughts together on very detailed issues. And it's probably not of interest to this group at this panel here, but there are a group of people who find these things very interesting.
Well, we're going to be following what Francine Lacqua is covering down there in Lima, Francine. So thank you very much for joining us.